A very warm welcome to all of you all. We, Dr. Delna and myself, Dr. Kashmira, welcome all of you all the wonderful parents and their lovely children. You're all welcome for this class today. Just a brief introduction about us. We are physiotherapists. We are masters in physiotherapy and we practice in South Mumbai. We have our clinic in South Mumbai and we've been practicing there since 11 years. We are into treating musculoskeletal cases, working with pediatric cases, and a lot more. We started our online classes 2 years back, and we have an amazing response of more than 2,000 to 2,500 people joining our classes regularly. We keep conducting free seminars for public interest, and we take classes on various topics like back pain, knee pain, etc. So they are going on since past 2 years with an amazing response, and we have people from across the globe joining us. And now we started off with this parents and kids event because we realized that kids are at home, things are online, their outside activities have been restricted, and that has brought so many, like initially our clinics used to be flooded with adults and elderly people, but now we get so many cases of children with back pain, with eye problems, etc. And we thought that this is a dire need of the situation to start working on the posture, on the eyes, and etc. of the children. And hence we came up with this whole concept of taking free events and free classes for children. So that's the motive for behind this program. So today's program, we are first going to talk about importance of posture. What are the things that affect posture? We'll talk about different kinds of abnormalities in posture. And then we are going to do some very interesting exercises which kids would love to do. And those simple exercises will help them in improving their posture. Of course, there is a whole program for posture care and exercises for posture, which we will talk about later. We have an upcoming program of 6 days where we will be working on the posture of the children and on improving the strength, etc. in different muscles. So that's entire program. But today we are going to share some good exercises which will be helpful to the children. So we want you all to pay attention. And as we mentioned earlier, at the end of the session, we'll be sharing a quiz. So all those who answer that quiz and send us their answers, you'll get an immediate e-certificate, which you can share it with in your school groups, on your Facebook, etc. to let people know that you attended this posture care seminar with us. Okay, so we begin with one image. We want you all to say how many of you all relate to this image. Okay, so can you all see this image on the screen? So if you can relate your child to this image, put a yes in the chat box. Put a yes in the chat box if you can relate to this image for your child. Okay, so it's flooding up. So many can relate to this image for your child. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. You can stop the comments in the chat box. We will be sharing one more image. And if you relate to that image, if you see your children sitting that way, put a yes again in the chat box. We'll just show you the image. Yes. How many of y'all can relate to this image? How many of your kids sit like this while they are working? Okay. All right. Yes. Sometimes. Yes. All right. Y'all can stop putting. So these are the main common errors that we are seeing in our children. And we keep telling them sit straight, The child will listen to you for 2-3 minutes and then he'll again go into that posture, right? That happens, correct? Yes? Yeah. So it is not that the child is being disobedient or the child is not listening to your commands. We need to find out why this posture is happening. Okay, so we will go into the depth of these things. Now to just beef you up with a base about posture. So we look at posture in 3 different categories. Okay. One is your lying down posture. So in which posture is the child lying down? When he's awake and when he's sleeping. This is one important component. Now, when he's awake, he or she is awake, it is under our control to take care of that posture. But when he's asleep, that's not in our control. So that is one kind of a posture that we look at. The second and the most important posture is the sitting posture, in which position your child is sitting, because most of the day the child is in sitting position. Looking at the current situation, it is even more, because earlier it was only when the child was going to the school he was in the sitting position, but right now, since all activities are also online, etc., the sitting posture is much more. So that is the second position in which you check posture, that is sitting position. And we just showed you just two of the abnormalities in sitting posture. There are a lot more. And the third posture is the standing and walking posture. So now we'll just show you 2 images of standing and walking posture, and then we go ahead discussing the causes. And you all are going to let us know if you can relate to this. Can any of you relate to this posture for your child? This is a little young adult which we have put in the image, but if you can relate to this posture for your child in standing, yes, some of you can. Normally, the standing posture we don't observe so much, because when the person is standing, we normally are into some form of an activity and we do not observe this posture. So this is one of the common postures in standing which currently the children are having. Our researchers and when we worked with schools, we have noted that. And the other standing posture which we commonly note is this. So can anyone relate to this posture of the child, an increase in the back curve while standing? So basically our spine has a lower back curve, which is called as lordosis, and that sometimes is exaggerated in some children. So this is also a common problem which children face in standing. Now, if you have not observed this in your children, we would want you to keep an eye and observe the standing posture as well, because children do have issues in standing as well when they have issues in sitting. Okay, so this sitting, standing, and these 2 postures ultimately affect the walking. Now we will see what affects the child's posture maximally. Now there are 2 components which affect it. Okay, one is the psychological component. Okay, the mind health and the mind well-being of the child, how your child is feeling in the moment. Okay, that decides his sitting or standing posture. If you see, when your child is really very happy or doing some very happy activity, you'll automatically see that the child is nice and upright. Okay, but if the child is sitting in the most boring class, which he does not enjoy, or you have just shouted at the child and he's completely off mood, yeah, you will see how the posture is then. Do you feel there is a change in the posture when the child is happy and excited about something, and when the child is bored about something? Do you feel a change in the posture? If yes, put yes in the chat box. Let's make it communicative. Yes. So that 100% happens because the posture is one mirror of how you are feeling. Okay. And it is vice versa also. So when your mood is bad, your posture gets poor. But when your posture is good, okay, your mood also elevates. So it is a two-way thing. So it's not that always a bad mental state of the child is going to affect the posture, but a bad posture is also going to affect the mental state of the child. Yes, and hence it is very, very important to have a good posture. So just a very small talk about the psychological component. What things affect the psychological component? One is boredom. That is very, very important factor which affects the child's posture. He's not interested, he's bored with that particular thing, and that depends upon the interest level of the child, and in that the interference that we can put is minimal. So that parents should understand that when there is boredom in the child, you cannot put in more interference in the posture of the child during boredom. But there are other things where you can interfere, and that is one thing which the children very, very much want is appreciation. So when you give appreciation to your children, yes, at that time it automatically secretes some hormones from the brain. Yes, these hormones help in creating a happiness. Okay, so when you appreciate your child, or when you give the child the attention the child deserves and wants, at that particular time the brain starts secreting some happy hormones. We call them happy hormones. Basically they are serotonin and oxytocin, all those hormones which the brain starts secreting, and that automatically elevates the mood of the child. And once the child starts feeling good about it, his posture automatically comes to a good posture. Okay, so appreciation, then attention is what the children need the most. They don't need a lot of your teaching. Yes, a lot of the parents telling the children that do this, do that. The child doesn't want that. What the child wants is your appreciation and your attention. The minute you give these two things, the list of complaints that you have with your child will come down to half, and that's a guarantee. So start appreciating your child. Don't compare that, okay, she got so much marks, you didn't get. No, it's not the right thing to do at all. I know parents may not like what I'm saying at the moment, but that is true. The children don't like that because they are not going to accept that. Whether you feel you are in the authority, you are in the control zone where you have to tell your child, otherwise he will not listen. It's not going to work that way. The parents have to accept that point. So it's not going to work that way. Instead, start using these two tools of appreciation and attention to your children, and they will automatically start listening to what you are saying in a reverse way. Okay, how many of you all agree to this? Put a yes in the chat box. I know it's difficult to put yes on this because parents want to tell things to their children, but children can put a yes. Yes, so all the children are going ahead to put a yes. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Excellent, excellent. Yes. So this is what the children want, and we should give the children this particular thing, and give our commands, our teachings less to the children. Of course, where it is required, but these two components can take care of most of your commands to the children. The child will feel happy. The child will automatically improve his or her performance. Okay. So this we spoke about the psychological component. Now we come to the important part, that is the physical component. Now, as we mentioned, the physical and the psychological both are intertwined. One affects the other and the other affects the one. So they keep affecting each other. So now we come to the physical component. Now in the physical component, talking about the slouched posture, what is that physical component which is mostly the cause of the slouched posture? So there are two important components which are important to keep a note of when your child is having a slouched posture. The psychological part of it we have spoken about. Now we take into consideration the physical part of it. Now in the physical part of it, the important point, 2 points which are important. One is the vision. Yes, the vision of the child. When the child's vision is affected, yeah. Now mostly children start getting their numbers when they are in the age group of 7 to 15 years. Yes. So during that phase, if you see that the child is bending too much to read his book, his or her book, then there is a possibility that he is developing a number in the eyes, and you should get the eyes checked. Yes, this is a very, very important thing which parents should keep a note of, is because what happens is normally you don't come to know that the child's vision is affected. The child can, if the child is little short in height and if he's sitting on the first bench, he will never know that he's not able to see the blackboard, or he's not, now right now we are all online. So you will never know, the child will not know that the vision is getting affected. And if you don't know that the vision is getting affected, the number goes on increasing very, very fast. So hence it is very important for you to keep a note on this particular point, that you should see to it that you get your child's vision tested if he or she is bending a lot while studying. Okay, so please keep a note of this. We are going to have an eye exercise seminar soon, where we are going to talk about the various things that are affecting the eyes of the children and what you can do to help improving the vision. We also have our eye exercise classes. We have currently ongoing with an eye exercise class with the adults, with an amazing response of conditions improving, the numbers going down in adults. We are soon going to have a class for children, but we're going to have a free seminar also for children and the eye health for children. You all can remain in the groups, and we will be putting up when the eye exercise, eye care seminar is. So that is one important component, that the eyes of the children should always be kept note of. Now, the second most important component is the weakness in the muscles. Okay. Now, our body is divided into two forms of muscles. One is the superficial muscles of the body. So when you look at your arms, the biceps that you see, the muscles which you see around the chest, what you can see visibly, you see the skin and there is a muscle underneath. Yes. So these are superficial muscles of the body. Okay. Now, superficial muscles are normally strong in children. They don't have a problem with the superficial muscles. They are normally strong in the children. What is weak in the children is the deep muscles. That is the core muscles. Okay. Core muscles are deep-seated muscles in the body. So when you look at the skeleton, you all have seen a skeleton. Yes, you must have seen a skeleton drawings. Yes, say yes in the chat box if you have seen a skeletal system of the body. Yes, so all of you have seen a skeletal system in the body. So now, where you see the bones are the most deeply placed structure in the body. And there are muscles which are immediately close to the bone. Okay, so those muscles which are close to the bone and attached exactly on the bone, they are called as the core muscles of the body, means the deep muscles of the body. Now, these deep muscles are the muscles which are responsible for your posture. So no matter how many times you tell your child that don't sit like this, but if the core muscles are weak, the child is going to go into that posture, because the body is not going to, the muscles are not strong enough to keep the child in the straight posture for a very long time. And hence it is very, very important to work on the core muscle strength of the body. Now, how do you work on the core muscle strength? So there are various exercises that come under core muscle exercises. Now, if your child is doing any form of exercise, say your children must be having PT classes, they must be doing some yoga, they must be doing a lot of things, right? How many of your children are doing that? Come on, put yes in the chat box. PT, the physical training classes in the school, playing games, yoga. How many of y'all are doing? Children are doing that? Put yes, 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 yes. I'm sure most are doing, but I'm surprised to see that there are less yeses in the chat box. So that's not good. Yes, okay, fine. Yes, some form of a game also. Yes, if they are playing some form of games also, you can put that in the chat box. Yes, very good. Very nice. Yes. So these particular things like yoga, or if they are playing any games, all of these are important and good, but they are working on the superficial muscles of the body, right? So if you're playing badminton, or if you're playing cricket, or you're doing some cycling or any of that, they are working mainly on the superficial muscles, because to do any activity which you are doing, you need your superficial muscles. So say when you are riding a bicycle, so you're using your superficial muscles of your thighs and your knees, etc. So all these activities which the children are into, and parents think that of course my child, now here I'm seeing very few are into those activities, so that's even more bad. But the parents feel that my child is already very active, then how can his deep muscles be weak? But to just clear off this misconception, that most of these activities work only on the superficial muscles. They do not tap the deep core muscles, which get left off, and they go on becoming weaker and weaker with age. They don't go on becoming stronger with age. They become weaker with age, and that is why all the musculoskeletal problems keep starting at a elderly age. But now what is happening is, because of inactivity, because children are not being put to a lot of activities, these muscles are getting weaker faster, and children are also having aches and pains. As we mentioned earlier, we have so many children coming to us with back pains, with neck pains, and when we touch the muscles and when we feel it, or when we are taking an online session and we see their postures, we are shocked to see that, children at such a young age are going through so much of pain. And then on top of that, they have to also listen to the instructions of the parents that, oh, you're not sitting properly, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But the child is actually going through a lot, and we need to work on the root cause of the problem, that is the weak core muscles. Yes. So this is now working on the weak core muscles is basically a very intense procedure, and we have to do, they are very simple exercises, but they are very, very technical exercises which have to be done in the correct way. Only then the core muscle strength is going to increase. Yes. So as we mentioned, we do have some classes coming up for core muscle strengthening, and we will let you all know about it later, and the details and how to join, etc. we will let you all know. So that is about our classes which are coming up and which will work on the core muscles. Now we should also keep into note that there are two components which give us a good posture, and two parts of our skeletal system which are responsible for posture. Now, right now, whatever we spoke about the upper part of the body, right? We showed you postures where children were like this, where they were like this, or where they were into an increased curve. So this is all to do with the spine, correct? With the backbone, with the spine. But there is another very important part in maintaining a posture, and that is your lower body, that is your legs. Okay, now we will show you a couple of photographs, and let us know if you can relate to this. If you have not seen your children in that angle, we would request you all to start seeing their lower bodies also. If at all they have any kind of a deformity or any kind of a disalignment in the lower body, it is important to catch that at the early age, then it can be rectified. And now we are going to talk about some of the problems which happen in the lower body. Yes, so we'll just show you some images. We'll show a couple of them, and we want you to see if you can relate to these images. This is called in-toeing. So this is when the child is standing, you must see whether the feet are falling straight or are the toes pointing each other and standing. You may not have noticed this. So we would, if anybody has noticed this, you can put yes in the chat box. If not, we want you to start noticing this, that while your child is standing, how is the foot placement of the child? It is very important to see if the child is going to in-toeing, if he or she is going. This problem starts at the level of the hip joint. Okay, there is a tight hip joint, the hip joints are rotated inwards, the hips. And that is what gives this in-toeing of the feet. So you must observe if the child is having anything of that sort. And if so, it is good to take a consultation with a physiotherapist and get it rectified. It can be done online as well. We have treated a lot of patients with in-toeing on an online platform. So please note if at all there is any in-toeing, because in long run, this becomes a very big problem. We see a lot of adults who were not treated in their childhood for these problems, and then they develop issues with the hip, and again this gives back pain, etc. So this is one thing we want you all to notice in your children. The other thing we want you all to notice is with respect to the lower body. Is seeing if your child's foot, the first image is if the child's foot is going into flat footing. Yes. If anyone has noticed this in the children, you can put a yes in the chat box. If not, we want you to start noticing this. Yeah. So the inner border, the border which is on the inner aspect of the child's foot, where the toe is, that side's border, if it is going flat, if there is no arch, that means the child is flat-footed and it needs to be started working on immediately. Okay, so this is the first posture, which is called flat footing in children. And this is because of weakness of the foot muscles, and that needs to be targeted immediately. This can also happen if there is a problem of knock knees. We will show you an image of knock knees and problem at the knee, but a knee problem can also give you this kind of a posture. And that is very important to be noted in the beginning phase as well. And the other kind of posture which you see, if you see the second one, is called as an equinus position of the foot. That means the child is persistently walking on the toes, doesn't touch the heel. Yeah. So many children have this toe walking habit, and we feel that the child is just, playing a prank or just doing it to seek our attention, but that's not true. This second posture, which is a problem, is because of tightness in the calf muscles. Yes. So the calf muscles are the muscles which are at the shin. So your knee joint is there, and then you have your shin before the foot. So there behind the bulk of the muscle that you have, that is called as the calf muscle. And calf muscle tightness is very, very common in children. Yes, today we are going to show you one exercise how you can help your children to deal with the calf muscle tightness. That will come towards the end. The exercises will come towards the end of the session. So that is another one very important thing that you need to note, that if at all the foot is going into either flat or it's going on toes, if any of this is happening, you need to consult a physiotherapist and get the correct set of exercises. We are going to show exercises for all these things in our classes on posture, which are going to come up soon. But some of them we are going to, some basic ones we will show you today as well. Okay. And now one last posture which we will show you today is about the knees. So if you see this, the center image is right, is correct, is normal. How your knees, your child's knees and legs should appear. The side ones, one is where your knees are coming too close to each other. That is called as knock knees. We call it genu valgum in our medical terms. And that is a problem again, that is showing that there is tightness of some muscles in the hip, and which needs to be rectified. And the other one is bow legs, where there is a lot of distance between. If you see, there is, we need to have this much distance between the knees. Okay. If the distance is reducing or if it is increasing, then the child is either into knock knees or into bow knees. These problems happen because not there is a problem in the knee. The problem is either in the hip or the problem is in the feet. And these need to be rectified as well. So these are some of the common problems which children have, and when they go undiagnosed, and then over a period of time in life, these things come up with major issues. And then when you go to the doctor would say, we have so many patients coming to us, and we would say that, okay, if you were young and you would have gone to a therapist at that time, you would possibly not have this problem. So that is why we want to bring this in front of the people, that tomorrow, after 20 years or 30 years, your child doesn't have to hear this when he goes to the doctor. Okay, if you would have gone when you were a child, this could have been rectified. Okay, so these were some of the common problems that we wanted to discuss. Now we are going to talk about some tips that you can follow, which will help automatically improve the posture of your child. So we are going to go on for talking about some tips. If you have any questions, you all can put it in the chat box. If time permits, we will take a question and answer session as well with all of you. Otherwise, we'll also open the WhatsApp chat post the session. No forwards at all on it, but your questions can be put up, and we will be very happy to answer and help your children in whatever way we can. Okay, so now we'll talk about some tips about how you need to maintain a good posture. So how many of you all want to hear those tips? Put a yes in the chat box. Yes, problem of shoulder bending is to do with the upper back. So when your upper back is bending, the shoulders automatically come into drooping shoulders. Now we'll talk about that. Yes, very good. So may all of you all want the tips. Yes, so first tip that we are going to talk about is about the school bag of your children. Yes, now how many of you all feel that your child is carrying a very heavy school bag? How many of you all feel that? Put bag in the chat box. Is your child's school bag very heavy? Put bag in the chat box. Yes, yes. Yes, this is one of, we have done some surveys with schools, and we've done a lot of study on this as well, that the children are carrying bags which are really very heavy, and that is also one of the major causes for having a back pain and having a bad posture. Now we will tell you about the bag, how the bag should be and how it should be carried. Okay, now many children, particularly the ones who go after 6th standard, they want to carry the bag in a style, right? So they will put the bag only on one shoulder. How many children are doing that? I see so many children laughing right now. Yes, and all of them are putting their, yes, yes. So you all are carrying the bag on one shoulder because you want to look stylish. I also used to do that when I was in school. So we want to look stylish, and we put the bag on one shoulder. Dono shoulder pe arey, it looks so kiddish, right? It doesn't look kiddish at all. It's more smart to carry the bag on both shoulders. So it is very, very important that you put the bag on both shoulders, because carrying it on one shoulder causes a depression in that shoulder. Yes, anyways, we end up with a depression in the shoulder, which is our dominant hand. Yes, if you compare the shoulders in adults, also parents can do it for themselves. One shoulder is little lower than the other shoulder, and that is our dominant side is slightly lower, and we exaggerate that by putting the bag on one side. So you must not put the bag on one shoulder. The bag should come on both the shoulders. Yes, so all those who are putting the bag on one shoulder, today you all have to give this one promise that you'll put it on both shoulders now onwards. Yes, and parents have to keep a note on this. And this, if the child is not listening, you tell the child 10 times. Put it on both shoulders. Yeah, because that is very, very important that you put the bag on both shoulders. Now, the second important point is the bag should not go below the waistline. Okay, now we'll just show that. Dr. Delna will just stand up, and I'll just show till where the bag should go when you're carrying the bag. So when you're carrying the bag should not, see, this is the lower back curve. Okay, so if the bag is coming till here, before the buttock region starts, till the lower back curve, here your major portion of the bag should sit. Okay, if it sits in this curve, then it is not going to put a strain on your back. Maximum if it goes 4 fingers down below the waistline, 4 fingers down, that is mid buttock region or just a little above the mid buttock region, that is also acceptable. But a bag going till here or going till here is going to put a lot of strain on the back, and that should not happen. So you must see to it that, again, that is also a style. That carry a low carrying bag and it looks really trendy. It doesn't. It just worsens your back. So what you have to do is you have those belts, right, to tighten. So tighten the belts a bit and bring the bag to a little higher level. So if it is sitting in the curve of your lower back, that is the best position where the bag should be, or 4 fingers or around 2 to 4 inches below the waistline is also acceptable, but not more below that. Okay. So this is the second point that you need to note, that when you're carrying your bag, it should be on both shoulders. It should end near your waist level or maximum 4 fingers below it, not lower down. Okay. So this is another very important point that you have to note. Now coming to the weight of your bag. The weight of the bag should not exceed 10% of your child's body weight. Okay. If the child is 30 kgs and if he's carrying a bag of 15 kgs, it is obviously going to put a lot of strain on his musculoskeletal system. So the weight of your child's bag should be maximum 10% of his body weight. If it is more than that, you have to work on it. You have to get the load out of your bags, of your child's bag. Okay. So that is another very important point that you need to note while your child is carrying the bag. Another very important point is how you're going to pack the bag. Okay. Now, while you're packing the bag, when you open the bag, okay, the side of the bag which is going to be near the back, okay, where the belt is, okay, that portion you must put the heaviest article. So if there is a laptop which is going to go, or if there is some big project book or anything that is heavy, the heaviest thing in the bag should go close to the spine. So where the handles of the bag are, that particular side, so the backmost side of your bag which comes closest to your spine when you put it, yeah, there you have to put the heaviest thing. Now the bags are also designed like that. They keep ergonomics in mind when they design. So the biggest shelf is also behind only, correct? And that comes closest to the spine. So your maximum portion should be at that, the heaviest portion should be on that. And then the small tiffin boxes and all that can come ahead. Okay, so that is how the bag should be packed, because that gives a stability to the bag. Okay, and when the bag is stable and steady, it will put less stress and strain on the person who is carrying the bag. Okay, this can be used by adults as well when you're packing your purses and all. Ladies also have very heavy purses. So you can use this concept for your particular purses as well. Okay, so this is about the bag, how your bags should be packed. And because this is something which is inevitable, schools, whenever they will start, your children are again going to carry the bags, and you need to keep a note of this. Okay, now we go on to another easy tip which you can do to improve your child's balance, posture, and a little bit of activation of core muscles is you take your child on a bike ride. Okay, not on a bicycle ride, on a bike ride. So when a child is sitting on the bike behind in a horse shape, we sit like how we sit on a horse, right, on the bike, or even if how ladies sit, if that way also, if the child is sitting and you're going for a bike ride, that activates the deep muscles in children, and that is a very good exercise by itself to be done for improving the posture and the deeper muscle strengths. Then another important thing that you can do for it is make your child do climbing. Okay, climbing stairs. So if you're staying on the 3rd, 4th floor, then let them do a little bit of stair climbing. Then you have rags and all, there are climbers which are available, so you can get that also for your child. And you can just ask the child to do any climbing. So when you do climbing, it is an anti-gravity movement. Like gravitational force pulls us down, correct? Now, when you do climbing, you're going against the gravitational force. So the exercises that we design are also always above the, you're going against the gravitational force. That activates the deep muscles better. So you make the child do a lot of climbing activities, and that's going to help as well. But another exercise, which initially in earlier days we used to have in our sport, meaning to it, and a very important aspect is, if parents could relate, I don't know if currently schools are having this, like putting a book on your head and walking. Yes, do children do have these activities in school now? Say yes or no, put in the chat box. We want to learn. Do you all have any such activities where you put a book on your head and walk? No, you don't have that. Some schools do. Most don't. Yes, it is removed because it's not a very trendy thing nowadays. Teachers don't think it's very trendy, so it's removed from the sports activity also. Earlier, this used to be there. There used to be a lot of activities which had balance in it. And when you try to balance, so you just have to put a book on the head and make the child just walk to and fro in a corridor. You can even, if there are children in the, if you're staying in a building and there are other children, you can have a small sport activity as well, where you can just tell all the children to put the book on their head and just walk. That gives an amazing improvement in the balancing ability. And for balance, what muscles are needed? They are your deep core muscles only, and it improves your deeper muscles, and that will help. Okay, so that is one another activity. Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Delna is saying you can use that as a punishment purpose. So when you are angry with your child or you're giving some punishment, you can put that and ask the child to walk as a punishment activity, and that will serve both the purposes. It will give the child that, okay, he's doing some punishment, and the purpose of improving the core muscles is served. Yes. So that is one activity. Also, there are those lemon and spoon activities which the kids are made to do, where you take a spoon, put a lemon, and walk. That is also very helpful in improving the posture. So these are some basic activities. Yes, we've covered most. Yes. So now we will go on to doing some physical exercises. These exercises are targeted that when the child is into studying, or when he's doing some activity and he's sitting on the computer for a very long time or something, these simple exercises, when done in between, they will help in reducing and releasing the stress that is put on the child's body when he is into when he's into work. Yes, the exercises that we are showing will be useful for drooping shoulders and all that. Yes, the main crux of the exercises is the core muscle strengthening, which needs to be done in a very step-by-step manner. So we won't get into that. That is there as a part of our classes. But we are going to show something to release the physical strain that is put on the body when the child is into work, that when the child is into studying, or when he is actively working in his studies and he's into some common postures. What are those few exercises which will help? And that can be just done while you are, like, a lecture is going on, there is a break, you can just do that one exercise, and your body, whatever stress that 1 hour lecture has put on your physical body, you are listening like this, you are listening like this, all that stress will go away immediately. It's not going to train your deep muscles, but it is going to reduce the stress which is put on your body, and you will immediately feel tightened up. There is one very important thing about exercises is that when you exercise, your brain secretes serotonin and some other hormones which help in elevating the mood. So if you are in a boring lecture, I know some lectures can be boring. So if you are in a boring lecture, after some time, just do this one exercise and you'll automatically feel कि अरे ये lecture अब तक तो boring था, अभी कैसे अच्छा लगने लगा है. the lecture will automatically start feeling good because your body, because of the exercise, has released those hormones from your brain, which is making you feel good. And you suddenly feel that this boring teacher is looking good today. She's sounding nice. Yeah, she's teaching something relevant today. Aaj kya ho gaya? So that is the thing that will happen if you do these exercises intermittently when you are in your when you are studying or when you are into something which is not so happening. Okay, so we'll go with the first exercise. So what we are going to do is, in this exercise, you're going to do a reverse namaste, and then you will raise your head up. Yes, we are showing the exercises right now. Yeah, so we'll do a reverse namaste and we will take the head up. Dr. Delna will demonstrate a reverse namaste and then taking the head up. Just a second. Yeah. Can you do it in standing? Yeah. So can you see this? Can you see? So how many children can do this reverse namaste? Adults don't try, aunties don't try that. Young mummies can try. Yes. So a reverse namaste and then, yeah, and then raise your head up to the ceiling. Come on, children. You don't have to make your mummy do. Aryaveer, Santosh, who is the mother and who is the child? You don't have to make your mummy do that. You have to do it. Yes. Come on. All the children, take your hands up. We want all the cameras on the children. Do a reverse namaste. Yes. Yes, Mehul, now look up. Now look up to the ceiling, everyone. Yeah, see, Yana, she's so small, but she's not able to do it. Means there's already stiffness in the body. Yana, do it. Yana Patel. Yeah. Put a reverse namaste and then look up. Yes. All those children whom we can see, we will just supervise. Yes. Cyrus Irani, look up, look at the ceiling. Yes. Diksha, yes. Amrut, Anand, no, we can't see you. Arnav, Arnav is also not able to make. Oh, Dr. Delna is more flexible than all these little kids. Yes, Vanshika is doing good. Difficult, oops, okay. Yes, Kumudini is doing good. Tushna is, yes, Tushna's one hand is going better, other is not. Preeti is doing okay, good, but you are bending in front, Preeti. You have to stand straight and do. Yes. Binaifer is her mother's name, son's name. Okay. Look up. Yes. Tushna. Tushna, can you make your son do? Sparsh. Priya, look up. Kiran. Kiran is not able to bring it to the upper back. Namaste should be pointing upwards. Dani. Kiran Dani. Yes. Arya is sleeping. Preeti, Dharmiksha, Bharya, do it. Come on, all children, be in the posture. We are looking at you all. Yes. Shahrukh, Dodi, you're doing good, but still tightness is there. Dharmisha, good, you're trying. Yes. Aditya, ready, you're doing it. Yeah, many of your cameras are off, so we cannot. Yes, now you can just remove the hands. Yes, you all can come straight. Okay. So this is one exercise that you can do while you are in the lecture also. Your teacher will not know what you are doing, why your hands have suddenly gone behind. They don't mind if the children's hands are behind. No, teacher tells you keep your hands behind. Keep them behind in namaste position. Okay. And that will improve your posture. And once it's in namaste and then you look up, it will give a very nice compressive force in your spine. Could children feel that it was compressing your spine a little bit? Yes. And those who could not come complete, you saw how Dr. Delna's hands went complete namaste behind. Yes. If you could not do that, that means there is tightness which has already set in the body and it needs to be worked on. And our upcoming classes are there for that. We are working on all those things only. So this is one thing that you need to do. This is Yeah, you can do this in, yes, you can drink water. No need to ask me. Uh, this is not a lecture. We are having a fun activity. So you can drink water and anything. Yeah. So, so this is one thing that you can do during an ongoing session as well. And it will really help in improving. It opens up the chest. Yes. So drooping shoulders and all are very much helped with this kind of an exercise. Now we are going to show another exercise wherein we are going to do an arm stretch in the upward direction. So Dr. Delna will now demonstrate interlocking both the hands. She take it straight up and stretch it up towards the ceiling. Yes. So you just have to interlock your hands, take them up. Now once they are up, your target is to touch the ceiling of your house. Okay, so you are going to stretch it up and then release it. Can you see how the shoulders are being stretched and released? Stretch and release. This exercise also automatically produces some hormones in the brain which will make you feel very good instantly. Yes, so all the children interlock legs should not lift. You don't have to come up on your toes. You can do this exercise in sitting also. So you just sit, take your hands up and stretch and release and bring it down. So take it up, stretch, come on, become tall. All children should do it. Come on. Yes, very good. Mothers are also doing. Ayavi, you can do. The little girl, I think she's the youngest. Your eyes. Yeah. Yes, very good. And release the stretch. Don't bring your hands down, only release the stretch. Stretch, release the stretch. Stretch, release the stretch. This will instantly stretch the entire spine. Reflexes of the spine, which are very important for our attention. It immediately bursts those reflexes and you will become attentive immediately in the lecture. Yes, all of you all do it. Come on. No, no twisting your hand, Vanshika. Hands should be like this only. And you're going to try to touch the ceiling. Now don't look down while you're doing it. Look straight. Straight. Chin up. Yes. Yes, even adults can do this. This is completely fine for everyone. Yes, Amrut, you're not doing. Diksha, Arya, come on, do it. Kiran, Kian. Yes, Tushna, you put your mummy's name, that's fine. Diksha, good. Do not turn your hands. Turning the hands gives a different impact. Hands, when they are like this, give a different impact. For this exercise, we want hands to be like this. Very good. Very good, birds. Yes, Parsh, very good. Aditya, come on, do it. Yes, Piran, Cooper. Yeah, Preeti, you are doing it very good. It's good for adults also. Keep doing. Siddhi, very good. Sonam, yes, good. You need to do. You are developing a little slouched posture. Shana's good. Yakshi, good. Shriti, good. Kumudini, don't turn your hands. Keep them straight. I think your mummy has put her name. Keep your hands like this. Don't turn them. Shana's good. Very good. Yes, Arya, you're not able to do that previous exercise. It's okay. You will get it. Fine. So now we go on to the next exercise. So this was a forward flexion, forward stretching of the spine. And now we are going to do a backward stretching. So in this, we are going to keep our hands behind. This will be easier than the first one. We made you do a little difficult one first. So this is going to be a little easier. So you're going to interlock both your hands behind and you're going to stretch the hands behind. So we just demonstrate that. Just a second. Yes. So you're going to interlock the hands behind, okay, like a swing. You're going to make a swing, okay? And you're going to take your hands right back. Now, while doing this, you don't have to bend in the front. If you bend in the front, then gone. Exercise ka pura meaning chala jayega. Only take your hands back. Okay, now Dr. Delna will just show it from side view also. So if you could just turn to the side, take your hands right back. Now with this exercise, if you can just add a little bit of taking the shoulders back and then taking the hands back, it will work even more beautifully. And this works very well for drooping shoulders. Yes. So we want all the students to now, first step, take the shoulders back. Second step, take the hands back. Yeah. No. Mehul, you're just bending. You have to keep your spine straight, shoulders back, and then take the hands back. Yes. Come on, do it, children. Yes. Parents are also having a nice exercise session with the children. Yes, very good. Yes, we are looking at everyone. Come on, do it. Turn to your back and do it. Vanshika. Yana, don't look down. Yana, look straight when you're doing it. Straight, up. Yeah. Yes, very good. Very good. Take your shoulders back first. Shoulders back. Who can take the shoulders maximally back? Let us see that first without taking the hands. Come on. Shoulders back. Yes, we'll just demonstrate it once again. Aditya, you are bending. You don't have to bend, dear. You have to stand straight and do. Yes, very good. Dhruti, you're doing very well. Dharmishta, you're bending. No bending. We'll just demonstrate this exercise once again just to clarify how the hand position should be. We'll just go a little fast now since we have less time. Yeah, can you see? Like you have to make a sling. यहाँ पे कुछ रखना है तो रख दिया. ऐसा हाथ होना चाहिए. ठीक है? And then you take it back. Okay? So that's how this exercise is to be done. Now we go on to one very interesting exercise that is in the lying down position. This is one exercise which we have devised which would take care of a lot of lower limb issues. There are a lot of exercises for the lower limb, but this one exercise will help in the lower limb a lot. So we will just demonstrate that. Just 1 second. It is in a lying down position. Just once. You'll get the recording access, which will be available for a few days. So till then, you can just. So we're going to work on the lower limbs. Just 1 second, I'll demonstrate. So what you have to do is, it's a very interesting exercise. You have to twist your leg one on the other like this. So just show this way. Like this. Intertwine it. Okay, as much as it can go, intertwine it, and then you can do this exercise in lying down position, and then just tighten your legs. Just tighten them. Okay, down leg, up leg, both the knees, press them in the bed. Just tighten your lower limbs and release it. Tighten and release it. Intertwine, tighten this, tighten buttocks, tighten the legs and release it. Okay, so this, if there is any kind of a deformity, it will help and take care of that deformity. Okay, so we want all the children, if you are near your beds, just intertwine your legs. Yeah. Yes, this has to be done on the bed. Bed, floor, or yoga mat, anywhere you can do this. Yes, so intertwine and tighten them. And release it. Lying down is better. Go completely flat, lying down. Yes. No, this doesn't work for flat foot. This is just to correct any of the alignment issues with the knee and the hip. It doesn't work on flat foot. There are other exercises for flat foot. Yes, all of you all? Yes, very good. Yeah, Aditya, intertwine your legs. Yes, now tighten them. No. Yes, very good. Tighten, Arnav, Arav, Sparsh, tighten your legs. Press your knees down, tighten. जैसे कि पैरों के बीच में किसी चीज को पकड़ लिया है. That way you have to tighten it. Yes. Okay. Yes. So this was one more exercise, and we will just show one more important exercise, that is stretching the calf muscles. We'll just demonstrate it right now because we need a dupatta for doing that exercise. You may not be having that, but we'll just show one stretch and then we end the session. We'll take some question and answers. So, yeah. You just have to take a dupatta, interlock it through the feet like this, okay? And then you have to pull the dupatta towards you. Okay, so this will stretch the calf muscle, okay? This is one very important and good exercise to stretch the calf for children who are walking on the toes. Okay, so you have to pull it, hold it for a couple of seconds and then release it. You have to hold it for around 20 seconds and then you have to release it. Okay, so that is one very good exercise for the calf. There are a lot of more other exercises for the calf as well. This is one of them. Yes, so that ends the session for today. If any questions, we will give you the unmute. Exercises for flat feet we are going to take in our classes that we are going to have on the chapter post the seminar. We are going to have some regular classes for posture care and we will do that. Okay, you can put your questions in the chat box or we can even give you the unmute and you can ask. Do not unmute yourself, everyone. When we name you, you can just put up your virtual hands and we will ask you to unmute yourself and ask your questions. Okay. Yeah, so whoever has a question, just put your virtual hand and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. Yes, Poonam Sethi, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, hi, I'm attending the session for my grandson who stays in New York, and he was all right, but his posture over the time has become really bad. So now this is too early in the morning, that's why they couldn't attend the session. So can they have one-on-one session with you sometime, or if I send them the recording or take an appointment and touch base with you?
Yes, we do take sessions, one-to-one sessions, and for abroad patients, like for adults and children abroad also we take, we decide a mutually convenient time. That's and right. Then we will take the session. Sure.
So I have your number on the WhatsApp, so I can take an appointment for, or my daughter will connect with you as per the convenience. Is that fine with you?
Definitely.
All right.
Just contact us on our personal WhatsApp numbers and we will surely.
But these exercises are really nice. I'm going to send them this, but then it's always better if both mother and son are there.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
also, I would like to know when the eye exercises for adults is that I'd like to attend the session.
Adult eye exercise class is an ongoing class right now. So we will not take members in right now. That class will end after 1 week. And then we will begin a new class. So maybe after 15 or 20 days, we will start with a new class for adults on eyes. And we will surely notify you. You can just WhatsApp us and we'll put you in the notification.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Most welcome. Yes. Now, Dhruti Sriram, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. I'm Priya. She has the habit of sitting half W. I correct her to sit in the Sukhasana posture, but she would naturally tend to go half W. One will be folded and one will be in the W form.
Yes, so that happens when there is tightness in the hip muscles. That needs to be rectified. The tightness in the hip muscles and the child, and there is an imbalance in the pelvic bone. When there is an imbalance there, one side the child keeps in one position and the other side keeps in the other position. That is because of imbalance in pelvic bone, and that needs some exercises to be rectified.
Okay, so then we get in touch with you.
Sure. You can get in touch. Yes. Gayatri, and after Gayatri, we will take someone else. Yes, Gayatri, you can start. Arush can go after.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you so much for the session. So when you're sitting in front of the laptop, the screen is small, the laptop is attached to it. So where should your hands be? How should your hands be there? And what should be your angle of the neck? Because the screen, laptop, everything is
yes. Thank you for this question, Gayatri. We're actually going to take that, but because there's so much we need to take that, we did not mention about the ergonomics. We'll just brief you all up about the ergonomic position. So when you are sitting on the laptop should be almost at a distance of one hand away from you, one full hand distance away. That is the, but not too much away, but at least it should be one hand distance away. The level to which the laptop's top is, yeah, the top of the laptop should go a little, very little above your eyebrow level. Okay, so there should be the height of the laptop. So supposing if the screen is too high, the child has to look like this, or if the screen is low, the child has to look like this. But if it is straight from the above the eyebrow level, if you draw a line, yes, that should be the top level of the laptop. And the hands, if that is the level of the laptop and that is the level of the desk, then your hands will easily be supported on the supporting surface. You should not leave your hands half supported. So see, right now what I'm showing is like I'm working like this. Yeah. So this is wrong because this is not supported. This should have some support. So either you keep the chair closer and you have your forearm should be supported at least slightly below the level of the elbow, then it is a perfect position. So the forearm should be supported. Either you get that support through the table or you can have something near the chair. So if there is a handle on the chair like this, and if that is used as a supporting medium, that is fine as well. But the forearm should be supported. Yes. We'll put some more ergonomic tips on the WhatsApp group for better understanding. We'll put some images also and we'll put some tips. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Arush Jain, you can take the question.
Yeah. Ma'am, my son is 15 years old. He doesn't sit on the chair to study. He's always on the bed. And on the bed also, he's halfly sitting and halfly asleep. So how do I improve him?
Yes, so that is a very bad position to be on the bed and study. So that is not, most children must be doing that. That's not a good position. But as I mentioned, there is a reason why they are not happy sitting on the chair. Either the ergonomics, that is the chair and the table position is not comfortable for them, or their core muscles are weak. If the core muscles are weak, the best position in which your core muscles don't have to act is lying down. Because there it doesn't have to support your body against gravity. So the child will prefer being on the bed half like this. This is a very common position.
Yes.
Children are. Yeah. So that the child, and this is again good you brought this point out. This is a position which brings about scoliosis in the spine. So the spine is ideally supposed to be straight, but when a child goes into this kind of a position for long hours, the spine starts developing a scoliosis, means a straight spine starts becoming curved like this to the side.
Yeah.
There is a side bend which starts developing, and that is very bad. So you have to work on his core muscle strength so that he internally gets that thrive that, okay, I want to sit straight and do it. I'm not comfortable. Other than that, when children are into unilateral weight bearing, this is called unilateral weight bearing, where one side is taking the weight. In that cases, we need to do some spinal stretches so that abhi bacha to sun nahi raha hai what to do. At least do the exercises so that jo body pe harm hua hai because of being in that position is nullified. So we are going to teach some stretches of the spine for these kind of unilateral weight bearings in our classes. So you can join them and learn the core strengthening, unilateral and lower limb strengthening. All this we are going to cover in our classes. So they will be quite helpful.
Can he go to the gym and work on the core muscles under the guidance
no,
of
not
the trainer?
at all. Not at all advisable. Again, thank you for this question. Gym activities for children below the age of 18 are very, very harmful. Please take a proper note of this, because the weight training and all which they are doing, the bones are not ready to take that. They are not ready to take that at all, and they end up with injuries. They end up with injuries to the epiphysis. Epiphysis means where your long bones are. They normally grow from the joints, where your joint is. So the elbow, the wrist, the bones grow from these joints. And when you go to the gym and work out, these epiphysis, the growing part of the bone starts getting affected. It gets injured, very common. And that affects the growth of the child. And gym activities are absolutely not recommended. 99% of the gyms do not know what core muscle activation is. I have been a consultant in one of the top, I'll not name the gym, but one of the top branded gyms of the country. I was a consultant physiotherapist there. And when I checked the core muscle strength of the trainers, not even a single trainer had grade 1 of core muscle strength, the trainers. So they are all superficially very strong, but their core muscles, we have a grading system of 5 in core muscle strength. We grade them. They were not even grade 1, and I'm grade 5 in my core. So that is the difference, because they are not trained. They do planks, but they do planks completely wrong. They use superficial muscles to do the planks. So do not go for gym for children below the age of 18. Not at all advisable.
So you'll be taking the workshop for core
Yes.
muscles. Okay.
We have our upcoming classes where we are going to work on core muscles. We are going to work on stretches, which are very important, common postural problems and stretches for them. And we are going to work on lower limbs also, because lower limbs are the base on which the spine is standing.
Yeah.
So we are going to work on all of that. It's a 6 classes program. We will inform you all. You all be in the group. We will inform you all about.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Most welcome. Yes. Yes, Aditya, you can take it. Aditya Reddy.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for your precious information. Actually, I just have a small doubt. Which kind of a chair or a stool we should use when kids are in online classes? Like Aditya is using now a straight type of stool. It's not a backrest chair. So can we use a backrest chair? Is not actually, it's like a little bit curve inside the chair. So which kind of chair or stool shall we,
Yes.
use?
Yes, I'll tell you about this. Again, thank you for this question. We wanted to mention this also, that in the while your child is in a chair sitting for a very long time, it is very good if you can make the child sit on a stool for some time. For some time, not for the whole, like say if he has a 6-hour school, the whole time he cannot be on a stool, because that is very unfair to the body, but the body will start aching. But for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, intermittently, if you make the child sit on a stool without a backrest, it is very helpful, because when the child doesn't have a backrest, he's not going to lean anywhere. So he's automatically going to have a straight posture, and that is very, very helpful. So that is good. But when you go for a chair, a proper backrest chair, and ideally a chair which comes till here, to the headrest. Yeah, that is an ideal position of the chair. There are curvatures which come in the chair, but we don't recommend that, because they don't match with the curvature of your child's spine. So what you must do is you must put a pillow, a vertical pillow, and keep it behind on the chair. And you can keep a very small, very thin horizontal pillow near the spine. You can use any chairs. You can use a dining chair. You can use even a plastic chair. It's fine. But just make this second arrangement is put one pillow vertical and put a very small pillow roll horizontal near the lower back. Yeah, near the lower back, a horizontal pillow and a vertical pillow straight, and that will help the child's position.
In school, he can sit for because his class time is 40 minutes minimum. So he can sit in the stool only for 40 minutes. No.
See, if it is half an hour, it's fine. But after half an hour to 40 minutes, it's fine on the stool. But more than that, the child's body will get fatigued.
6 years
and then
kid,
he'll go into wrong posture.
He cannot sit completely, ma'am, because he'll sit, get up, do all these things, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
all classes he can use stool or not? I mean,
see, for all classes, you can't put him in that position. You have to put him in the chair only. But intermittently, for 10-15 minutes, you can put him in the stool.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, we'll just take 1 or 2 questions from the chat. So the ideal way to use mobile or tab, it should be at the eye level when they are using it. It should not be down. So if you're using a mobile, it should be at the eye level. The arm should be supported on the handrest of the chair. And then if you use the mobile, it's fine. It's the same with the mobile and the tablet. It should be at the eye level. The top portion should be at the eye level. Yes, same goes with books. While you're reading books, your body should be supported and the book that you are reading should be at the eye level. Either you hold it in the hand, or if it's for a longer period, then there are book stands which are available, which you can put it like a laptop stand only. You get a book stand, you can just put the book and then you can ask the child to read from the book. How long would it take to normalize a posture? See, basically training the deep muscles takes over a period of 3 months for the deep muscles to strengthen. And so once you start the correct exercises, it takes over 3 months to correct the posture. Yes. Now we go on to Mudita. Mudita, you can take the question, Pranav, and then Mehul can take it. Pranav, you can take the question, unmute yourself.
I wanted to ask, how should we sit when you are watching television? Because when I'm watching television, my posture automatically goes back to bad posture, and I'm sitting like the second image you showed me. So
Yes, very good question again, Pranav, because children like to watch television. And how would you watch? You must watch the television as you are sitting for your class. So when you sit in the class, how do you sit in the class? You sit on a chair, you have a backrest, what we just described. You watch the television also in that posture only. Yes, so that will reduce your watching of television also, because you will not like to be in that posture for long, and it will help you not to go into a wrong posturing. So even if your child is watching a television, don't consider it like a leisure activity. He wants to watch television, tell him, okay, you can sit on your chair which you are sitting for your studies and watch the television. So the same posture. Yes, Pranav, that solves your question. Okay. Yes, Mehul, you can take it. Unmute yourself.
Ma'am, how do you do
Yes.
flat feet exercise?
Which exercise?
Flat feet.
Flat foot. Yeah, there are a lot of exercises for flat foot. Mehul, can I know your age?
17.
17. Okay. So ideally, by now, the little bit of structural flat foot may have come in, but still there is a lot of scope to improve. For the flat foot, there are exercises which strengthen the foot muscles. We are going to show them during our classes, but just one quick exercise is you must put a small napkin on the floor, put your feet on the napkin and start curling the napkin towards you with the power of your toes without moving your heels. Okay, just demonstrate it to you. You were listening to the whole lecture very attentively, so this is a gift for you. We'll show you the exercise. Just a second. Yeah, so this is like we are just showing it with. Yeah, so you place the napkin like this on the floor and you start curling it towards you. Yeah, but your heel should not move. So you should not do like this. Your legs should be steady, and only with the toes you're going to pull it towards.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So start with this exercise. That will help.
How many times?
Yeah. So it has to be done. It has to be in one go. You pull the entire napkin 5 times towards you and do it 4 to 5 times in a day. Yeah. And there are a lot more other exercises which we are going to take on this particular problem. Yeah, but this you can start.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Arush, Jain, you can take it. Then Nishant, and then Aryan. And then Vanya. Yeah. Arush, yes, tell me.
He is very thin. I cannot see any type of mass in his body. So even that is the reason for his bad posture.
See, when the child is very thin, that means the superficial muscles are thin, and that's an indication that the deep muscles are by default going to be very thin and weak. So we need to work on the deep muscles. Yes, muscle training has to be done for children who are really thin, but that is not a short indication that the child is weak because of that. Yeah, but yes, you need to work on the muscle strength for the children. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Nishant.
Thank you for the wonderful session. Just one question here. When children especially are sitting long hours while schooling and other classes, so is it a good idea to sit cross-legged on the chair itself? Vis-a-vis, because they could be dangling at times also.
Yes. Yes.
And should we support
Again,
the
a very good question. Yes, Arush, Nishant, a very good question. Dangling foot should never be there. If your child is sitting on a chair, the feet should be grounded. Your chair height should be like that, that the feet are grounded, because dangling foot is very bad. If your chair is high and if it is not, the feet of the child are not touching, put a small footstool or put a couple of pillows so that the feet can be rested on the pillows. Other thing is, yes, you can ask the child to go into cross-leg position intermittently, and that will also be very helpful while the child is sitting and on the computer for long. Intermittently crossing the legs, intermittently putting them on the floor. A change in the movement is very helpful.
Okay, just
Yes.
extending that question. Should we let them sit on smaller chair and tables versus the normal ones which we use then?
See, that entirely depends upon the height of the child. So that ergonomics will vary from child to child. So what is the level of the child's height? But ideal posture is it should come 90 degrees from the hip, 90 degrees from the knee, and feet should be flat on the floor. That is the ideal posture.
Okay, thank you so much.
Most welcome. Yes, Aryan and then Vanya. Yes, Aryan, you can unmute yourself. Aryan Shah. Okay. Vanya, you can go for it. Maybe they are not able to unmute.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am,
Yes.
for the session. My daughter also enjoyed very much. I just wanted to
Thank-
ask if we can sit on the floor and let them attend the class cross-legged, because I think when she sits, she's very comfortable sitting on the floor.
Yes, you can allow sitting on the floor as well. But again, while the child is sitting on the floor, there will be a little postural, abnormalities, because they have a lot of space around them. So they tend to, go into wrong posturing when they are sitting on the floor. So that is not the most ideal position. But you also get something called as floor chairs.
Okay.
So there are these very low chairs which are available. They're called as floor chairs. They are particularly meant for sitting cross-leg position. They're used in meditation and all as well. So they are wonderful if you can get that. That gives a very good posture. Also, when the child is sitting on the floor every time getting up, that is in itself a form of exercise. So you can go for those kind of chairs.
Right, because my son is too small. He's only 6 years old, and sitting on a
Okay.
table and chair is very difficult.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah, if their height is very small and all, it will get difficult. And as I mentioned in the previous question with Nishant, that you can put something on the floor so that the legs are not hanging. That should be very much kept into mind, that the legs should not be hanging. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome. So I think we've taken all the questions. If anyone is left, keep your virtual hands up and we'll answer you. Okay. So that ends the session for today. As we mentioned, we are going to put one Google quiz. Yes, I'll just complete what I'm saying and then I'll take you, Bridges, Irani, I'll take you. Yeah. So we are going to put one quiz. So please answer. There are simple 5 questions. If you were attentive in today's class, you'll know them. First, we'll put the quiz, answer those questions, send them. You'll get an e-certificate. So you'll be certified that you've attended this posture care seminar with our organization. So you get that certificate, and you can of course share it on your school group. You can share it on your Facebook and all, right? And we will put that first. We want you all to finish that. And after that, we will put, so we want all those who have attended live to get the certificates first. Yes, and then we will put the recording of today's class, and then people who are not live can also go through the recording, answer the questions and get the certificate. But we want you all to get it first. So we are going to put the certificate. So please take your certificates. You'll get an e-certificate for attending today's class. Put your child's name properly, put the school's name properly, so that both the things come. So what you will put will only come on the certificate. Okay, so that's about it. And we would love to hear your comments on the WhatsApp group. So we will open the WhatsApp groups. Please put your comments on the WhatsApp groups as to how you felt the session was, so that others are also encouraged and they can take benefit of the live classes. Yes, Burgess Irani, can go ahead.
Miss, you can see the ball, jumping ball. I mean,
Yes,
is
yes.
it good to keep jumping over it or just sit?
Okay. No, it's very good to keep jumping over it. It gives a proprioception training to the spine. So it is very good to jump on the ball, and it also stimulates the vestibular system. So there is a system called vestibular system in our ears, and that is good for balance and all that. So it trains your balance and proprioception. So if the child is doing that, it's good enough. But sometimes if the child is excessively doing this, then this is an alarming sign to know if the child is seeking vestibular attention. Means the body is seeking vestibular attention. That's a sign. If he's doing excessive, if he's doing just like a play, it's completely fine. And it's good. It's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot of exercises which can be done on this ball. So if you have we have our advanced, because it's not in the basic class, but we have our advanced classes where we make children do exercises with these kind of balls, and they are very, very effective.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Actually, my mother-in-law was a physiotherapist.
Exactly. That's the reason why you have the ball.
Yeah. So
Yes, yes.
we've seen some of the children do those exercises. So,
Yes.
but I just had no clue how much, how often they could.
No, it's perfectly fine. As much as he wants to do, allow him. There's no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Most welcome. Most welcome. You just see some chats. My son is 7, always keeps moving the leg. Moving the leg has a lot of reasons why the children move legs. One is they are trying to seek attention. One is it's a sign of nervousness and anxiety as well. If the child is repeatedly doing some activity, which is, an unconscious movement that the child keeps doing, like shaking the legs, or, some children keep doing like this, or playing with the handkerchief like this. They are all signs that the child is having some kind of an deep anxiety or some fear or some kind of a nervousness. It is a sign for all that. And we are going to take, we have lined up a lot of seminars and all where we are going to work on these aspects too. So we will take care of that in subsequent seminars.
What is the reason behind the child biting nails even at the age of 10 or 11?
See, there are some oromotor reflexes which happen in the young age, the thumb suckling, biting nails and all that. So sometimes the child doesn't move ahead of the oromotor reflex. That is one reason. Other reason, again, that is a sign of nervousness. It's a sign of anxiety. So that is another reason. Also, sometimes calcium deficiencies also give these nail biting phenomena. So we need to look at the child and exactly diagnose what is the cause. But mostly anxiety, even adults, if you see some very elderly people also bite nails. So that is a sign of anxiety basically, mostly. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. So we are done. So we'll send the Google form. You all can take your certificates. We'll inform you all about when our posture care class is. And the next free seminar, what the posture care class is, of course, a paid class. We'll mention about all its details on the group. And the next free seminar, whichever topic we are coming up with and the guest lecturer and everything, we'll inform. And you all can attend as many seminars as you like. Yeah, they are all free and everyone is free to attend. You get an e-certificate when you attend it. Is it okay for the child to allow biting nails, or should the child be advised and explained? Yes, you have to advise and explain the child. But as we mentioned, just advising and letting the child know is not going to work in most cases unless the child is fearful of you and listens to you out of fear. But we need to work on the root cause of it. Yes, of course, you have to stop the child because you can't allow him to do nail biting. He may go in the school and do it and it can have a problem later. So you try to stop it. Don't be too compulsive. You don't get into the compulsive shoes in advising the child. You be in your relaxed zone when you are advising and intermittently keep advising. Moreover, try to solve the root cause that why he is doing it. You may see that there will be instances in which he is doing it more. So when he's nervous or when he's having his exam, he's doing it. So you see in which zone he is doing it, and then you can rectify that. Yes, and as we mentioned, the attention, the appreciation part of it, start doing that with children who are showing these traits, and you will see a difference coming in them. Yes. Okay, so hope we've answered all questions. You all were a lovely audience. We love to have you all, and hope to see you all very soon again. Take care. Bye, everyone. And don't forget to put your comments. We'll open the groups to all comments, and hope to see you all soon.
What about
Bye.
the quiz?
Take care.
What about the quiz?
Sorry?
What about the quiz?
Yes, so that quiz, we were going to put it up on the group. That's the first thing that we are going to do right now. We are going to put up the quiz link on the group. So you have to answer the quiz, and then you will get the certificate. Okay. And then you put on your, then we will open the group for public comments, and then you can put your comments. Okay. All right. Yes, Tushna,
Thank
you
you
have a
very much.
question?
Hi, I wanted to know, is there any particular thing we should keep in mind if we are buying a new sofa set regarding the posture, the legs, the back?
Yes. See, the idea behind your sofa set is very important. Why do you want to buy it? If it is with the purpose of having your child sitting on it for studying purpose or anything like that, then the sitting pan should be narrow. It should not be very vast.
Right.
Yeah. But if it is just for leisure activities, then it doesn't matter however it is. Don't go for too soft sofas because they are not good for the spine health when the child is sitting on the sofas. But other than that, it's fine. If
It's
that
just for
is, if
leisure.
your purpose is just leisure,
yeah.
then you can go in for a regular sofa, not to be too soft.
Not too soft. Okay.
Not too soft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. See you all. Bye. Bye. Take care. Thank you. Bye.